Hello everyone, Luke here, and no use beating around the bush here. That I really was hoping that we would get more from the actual city building up of the series, but this chapter proves that that's not really going to be the case at this point, unless something incredibly crazy happens next chapter that makes me think, oh, so this is why these other cities were rushed. But hey ho, we can only hope. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Alright, so this will be chapter 211 titled World Tour for Resources. So I guess we're just calling this the World Tour arc or the Globetrotting arc now, because calling it the Europe arc is kind of a bit of a, like, when they were only in Europe for like 2 chapters at max. But anyway, the chapter starts off with them with them reiterating that they've got a they've been gathering resources from all over the world. Yeah, from all over the world. Yeah, except for Canada, South Africa, England, France, Germany, Italy, China, Russia, the Ukraine, and Egypt, like 10 countries that they could have gone to potentially, but they didn't. So yeah, saying all over the world, that's kind of a bit of a stretch there, because you only went to like 5 locations out of the whole entire world. But anyway, that's besides the point. Ukyo says that they're going to the next stop with at this point. So yeah, leaving Australia after 2 chapters. This series, like Party Jam said on Discord, this series is trying to beat Black Clover for the fastest series in the world, and people are worrying that the series won't make it past 300 chapters. At this point, I'm starting to worry that now, unless something incredibly crazy happens. So let's, fingers crossed. Let's hope something incredibly crazy happens that does mean it's gonna make it past 300 chapters. But anyway, Senku goes on to say that they'll finish off their world tour, their founding world tour with this the city founding world tour with this final stop, which reusably confirms that it's Indonesia, which makes perfect sense. That's where it was located on the map. We cut to them actually in Indonesia, where we see Chelsea and Senku and Fran getting all crazy about the trees that are around there. As Chelsea says, whole forests of rubber trees, and Fran confirms that they gathered a lot. They gathered a bit of it in Central America, but they'll need a vast amount of bounty of it, and this is where they are actually going to be able to get it. As Senku confirms that there's so much here he could cry. Ha! Call back to when he reunited with Taiju and Yuzuriha on the phone. But this time, I don't think he is. Is he crying? No, he's definitely not crying. He's grinning in this scene. So, bit of a contrast there to when he reunited with Taiju and now when he's giving the tree sap for the rubber. But he's saying this because it's great, because they can use a whole bunch of this stuff, as Rubber City is immediately founded right there and there. Now there is a historical reason for this, because I believe what the case is here is that Japan and Indonesia are not on the friendliest of terms. That's something that someone actually brought up, which means that's why they're kind of like skimming over Rubber City here, which for historical purposes I can kind of understand there. If you have a bit of a tiff with each other, you kind of like don't want to like infuel that tiff even more. Anyway, with Rubber City founded, they finally have all the moments aligned on the map, where they go all around the world. We've revived people. Yeah, people we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with. Need I remind you? Some you did. You got to spend time with Joel and Chelsea, but they're like the two main ones. But all the others, like reviving people who are basically the NPCs of Doctor Stone at this point. Yeah, we never really got to spend any time with it. Hell, NPCs in computer games get more screen time than the background characters that we've revived in this series. But I still love the series, but that's something that you really have to point out here. Like, yeah, that is kind of a little bit of a like head scratching moment. But they've been reviving people and founding cities. Yeah, only 5 of them. Only 5 of them. Need I remind you? Not doing any more. You're just doing 5 of them. Well, 6 of them now, I guess, if you include Fluorite City, which is in Barcelona. So I guess they've decided that. I guess Boichi and Nagaki decided, yeah, Fluorite. We should have included Fluorite City at that point. So anyway, we've got Corn City, Super Alloyed City, Fluorite City, Math and Fuel City, Rubber City, and Aluminium City. So they're all coming. They've all come together to create the new Stone World. But something's interesting about the arrow pointing from Japan to Corn City, and then from Corn City to Super Alloy. I can't. Oh my God! It's the McDonald's sign. It's the McDonald's sign. Yeah, just hit something in the back there. Just hit something behind me casually. But anyway, moving on. They say, and now finally, our grand adventure spanning 10 long years. It's almost at its end. It's that moment there where they say 10 years. I bet people are going to be scratching like, really? Has it been 10 years? And yes, it has, because let's just quickly go into Discord. Come on. So we'll go quickly into Discord. Doctor Stone, because I did put it here. The Doctor Stone trivia that's been posting says that September 5741 the Perseus was complete, and then January 5742 they went to ground zero and they all got petrified, and then they were revived after, and then they were petrified for 7.5 years, and then in October 5750 they arrived in India, and then in April 5751 they arrived in Indonesia, and we'll get into this chapter of them actually growing and harvesting rice. Which takes 120 days for it to grow, so it's around July and August. So yeah, it has been about 10 years. So now we're in 57-51. So it's been 10 years since the Perseus complete. And looking back on that, like, well, 10 years in less than 100 chapters. That's a lot to take in, guys. Anyway, continuing on, they expressed that it's nearly time for their triumphant return to Japan to reunite with everyone, as we see Chrome, Suika and Kazuki looking even more determined than ever to revive everyone. And yeah, when everyone does get revived in Ishigami Village, people are going to be freaking out about Suika's new look, and they're going to be going, Suika, did you have a growth spurt? It's like, no, I've just grown up. And they're going to be like, what? So yeah, I cannot wait to see the reactions of everyone in Ishigami Village to how Suika actually looks now, and how she's actually matured and become even smarter than most of the people in that village. But anyway, Ukiyo goes on to say that the whole world will unite for this event. Might be first in human history. Not that we planned it that way. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. The fact that this one event to actually take down the Y-Man, and it's going to involve everyone from around the world, from all the different cities around the world. That's going to be interesting to see. Although I'm still hoping that we do get the internet. Still hoping that, and we still get webcams from all over the world. Still waiting for that. Not just for the world, but also for the markets, that people who don't get a chance to go to space, because there are some people who are not going to get a chance to go to space, actually get to see the live feed of what's actually on the moon. Still hoping for that, and maybe that's probably the next big thing that's to come in the series. Fingers crossed on that. By the way, Chrome goes on to say, yeah, everyone together united. But he thinks of it as a different way, because as we know, he's determined for everyone to actually go into space at this point, where he goes, a way for everyone to share in the victory against the Round Mind. That's why I've got to find a round trip rocket. And Senku, in his ever creepy way, but in a good way, says, "Yep, everyone united. Sounds like we better reap heaps of sounds like we better revive heaps of folk for this hard labour of building the rocket back in Japan." And then someone says, "You are allowed to show some human emotion, to Senku, because he's doing like the creepy, like, I'm gonna get hard labour of that," basically doing the Mayuri face, like, "I'm gonna get hard labour for everyone to build this rocket." It's like, okay, chill down, Senku, chill down. They continue on with Kohaku saying, I can't wait to tell Rui and the villagers that this hellish situation will soon be over." You think? They're still going to go through hell building this rocket, But Yo says, "Oh yeah, what about the hellish labour right after getting revived?" Yeah, exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth, Yo, because they're going to still be building the rocket, which is going to be hell for them. But anyway, they go on to say, "I suppose they'll decide a nice souvenir or two from our world tour." Yeah, you could have got something from Australia, from Barcelona, from America, from South America, from Indonesia. You could have got it from anywhere. You could have got it. Hell, chess. Bring the chessboard that Saya Ryusui were playing with. That's a souvenir. But anyway, Senku reiterates that. That was always in the works. So yeah, he's kind of doing the back and forth bit. So why he's like, "I'm gonna get them hard labour first, but first I'm gonna give them souvenirs from all around the world." Yeah, that's Senku in a nutshell. As we get Chelsea again going on to say, "Oh, a souvenir a souvenir so thoughtful for you. Love to see besties giving gifts and stuff. If I know, dear Senku, you'll change your mind soon enough. There's always an ulterior motive." Yeah, with Senku, there's always an ulterior motive. So he's going to be like, "I'm going to get them building a rocket ship, but first I'm going to give them souvenirs. Then I'm going to get them building a rocket ship." Oh my god, I just love that about Senku. But he goes on to say, "Think about the one thing we do in every spot around the world. Right off the bat, we cook up some local cuisine, right? The local comfort food is just the thing to motivate and power up the folks we revive." Yeah, too bad we haven't actually seen most of that. We've only really seen it in Barcelona, and here is one of the places that we're actually gonna see as well. We didn't see in Australia at all, or in Super Alloyed City, or well, we did see in India with the curry, and how spicy that was. So maybe that's what they're doing. Like, they've been bringing, like, we haven't been seeing it because we're bringing food from all the different places, and they're going to be spread out in a spread in Japan itself. For like, this is going to be the world of food dishes here. So maybe that's why we haven't seen it in Australia or Super Alloyed City. That's all I'm saying here with that that just could be the case. I shouldn't say all I'm saying here, really. They go on to say that local food is just a thing to motivate and power up the folks we revive. Certainly will do with me. And yeah, Chelsea agrees with me. Giving people familiar food can be just the thing to get them motivated. Before Crocker says that she thought that Sin could just decide some tasty meals, and we get a little bit of a comedic moment here with Reeves where he's like, I do, pure desire, that's me," and Gen's like, "Oh, yeah, Reeves, we know you like desire." But anyway, Fran asks, what is Japan's comfort food, and everyone agrees unanimously that it is rice, which makes sense. There's a lot that Japan is just obsessed with their rice, so it's the local comfort food. As we get a wide spread here of the food itself, which, yeah, that looks pretty tasty. I would love to eat that myself. So yeah, pretty tasty stuff there. So anyway, they continue on going that how lucky are we that this Wild West just happened to be spotting where we dropped by. But of course, it is not looking this situation, as they were like, rice is ready to be harvested in April after the rainy season, hence saving this location for last at this precise time of year. It makes sense, and I'm glad that they actually brought up why it was actually Indonesia to be the last place that they actually went to, and it wasn't and it wasn't like the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. It was basically the last place that they needed to go. As everyone is continuously harvesting, we cut over to Sai mentoring Chrome and Suika in maths. So yeah, nice little moment there where we got to actually see them like actually studying open maths. Although while Chrome looks like he's struggling, Suika seems to be the one that's actually trying to get it at this point. So I love like the little dynamic contrast there. Like Suika's getting more of the math side than actually Chrome is. Although people might look at that as feeling that Suika is actually confused. But anyway, it's nice that they're actually taking time to establish like, okay, yeah, they're still working on this, and Sai is still teaching them, and it seems like he's doing a pretty good job with them, because he's not getting frustrated with them from these panels. Although it's kind of a bummer that we didn't get a whole maths chapter, which is probably what I think a lot of people were expecting. But now we know that there's not a lot that we can actually predict with Dr. Stone. Anyway, we cut to what looks like a few days later, where we see some people who have been revived and building something with Kosuke, which is kind of like a whirlpool thing that it's kind of like what looks like a miniature water wheel. So like you have the water wheel spinning around at the top, and then you have like little spirals spinning to kind of like, I guess it's to kind of like gather up the water, as we see the mobile lab being reconfigured into what looks like a harvest boat, like where they have one of those boats that basically are harvest on water, and then we cut over to them actually saying, hold up, replicating the rice cup immediately leads to immediately leads to rumble tay right. God, again, you and your pig Latin I can't understand sometimes. Don't they usually wait until the following year? Before Senku says 10 billion% no problem, since there's basically no winter here. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because Indonesia is on the equator, so it's pretty impossible to do it to do winter in one of the hottest places on Earth. But Kaku is the one that doesn't get it, and how does the land escape winter? Yeah. It's hot, Kawaku. This place is super hot, so snow can't actually fall. Senku goes on to say that in just 1 year, we can plant 3 times for 3 harvests. It's all thanks to the power of science. Yeah, everything's thanks to the power of science in Senku's mood. And Rizui goes on to say, every harvest would normally leave the fields less fertile than before if we weren't countering with top-notch fertilizer that is. And Francois goes on and says, as always, desire is noble with Ryusui. Before we get quite an interesting statement here from Yo and Ukyo, that right before getting to Australia, they took a pit stop at that weird island to pick up these pink rocks, and the island was Nauru, and the albatross Ghana and the albatross Ghana there gave them all this fluorosite, where we see fluorosite, nitric acid, and wood ash. So pretty crazy that we actually got confirmation of them going on side quests off screen, which if I know the anime, that is the perfect moment to do a filler episode of just them on that island gathering that, and just having moments to have a good old time. Like this whole world tour gathering thing is the perfect to expand on it and actually do some filler content of what the characters were doing during the time skips between locations and even what side quests they might have actually gone on. as they continue to harvest and fertilize the crops, they eventually get rice acquired. So this is the moment where they're actually in July and August, because the Dotstone trivia said it takes 120 days for them to actually harvest and grow rice. Senku goes on to say that looking for us, the Indius strain is bursting with amorpho. Okay, a word that Gen perfectly reiterates, because I cannot pronounce that word, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. Fran says this means it resembles Japanese rice, so she's able to create some Japanese rice balls which look quite a bit larger than the average rice balls that I've seen sometimes. And as everyone is celebrating this, we see Senku just buying into the rice bowl as he thinks solemnly to himself of not just the old world but Byaku as well. Now, Parajans thought that this was a bit tacked on to actually get Byaku in here, but I think this is actually keeping in character with Senku, because everything that makes him think of Byaku, he's gonna think of Byaku. Like, just any moment that he had a good time with Byaku, that's actually gonna affect him on a personal level. And the fact that Byaku can't be there to actually properly thank to actually be properly thanked by Senku for all that he did for him, and it's just hammering in time and time again how much Byaku is important, not just to Senku but the story in general. And of course, while Senku is not one to shed tears and show emotion all that much, even though we have seen him show emotion at moments, we see Ukyo just bawling his eyes out, which is common with Ukyo. And he says, "I'm overcome, not even sure why. Even back in the 21st century, it's not like I constantly snacked on a gear onigiri," which I think it's just as well now starting to hit Ukyo of just how much Ukyo probably had family back in the old world that can't be there with him to actually appreciate this moment and appreciate what they've all been through. And I think that's hitting him completely hard at this point, that they've not actually found most of the families of the revived people. That's kind of like hitting him in a big way. But Ryusui informs of that there's no souvenirs more tantalizing than this. Am I wrong? Time to head back to where the journey began. Back to Japan, as we see them leaving Indonesia, and we see the caption, "Remaining time to complete the lap around the world, Japan, 2 days," and that's when the chapter ends. Now, that 2 days, Party Jans figured like that's kind of a little bit strange that they actually included that, like, return to Japan in 2 days, and he's thinking that there might be a threat coming up that will prevent them from stopping. I reckon I thought I figured that there would be something like happening that would be like, okay, the timer is going to get reset. It's going to be scribbled out, and it's going to be time to return to Japan like 250 days. So something like that. That something's going to happen. That's basically going to make that happen. Probably it's going to be like there's a Simpsons episode where Homer joins the Naval Reserve, and he's on a submarine, and he takes control of the submarine, and he's like, "Mr. Sulu, make a left. Aye, aye, Captain. Same course for Ranger 7, I mean home." And he's like, "That's it. Left, steady as he goes. Second thoughts go right." And he just goes right. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Like, Senku's going to be like, "That's it. Japan, steady as he goes. Second thoughts, let's go to South America." I'd love that to happen. Now, with the whole, like, 2 days caption, I figured, looking back on it, I was like, yeah, that's kind of a bit strange. That's kind of a bit strange that's there. But remember when they first went to first were like time to cross the Atlantic 1 week, and there was no like, oh, what if the reason that's there is it's gonna make it a bit like there's gonna be a new antagonist coming up. And we've had captions that have said time remaining to cross to America, 40 days, 70. We've had that before, so maybe this is just like they're reiterating like time to make it back to Japan is 2 days. Although with that ship, I don't think it is going to be. It does seem strange that 2 days when Indonesia is so close to Japan, and they have that Perseus boat and the rocket engine on it. That's kind of a bit strange on myself. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.